how do you control ants? This is another one of those big questions that we get asked. And so today we want to give you a lot of information or some more information regarding this type of pest in and around a home. Now, we do have a shorter video that covers a little bit more of the just very general idea behind it. And it's 2 tips on how to control ants. But in this video, we're going to kind of break down the process of why you have ants coming in your house and specific products that we use and how to apply them and some things to look for whenever you're treating for ants. And so before we get started, I would like to mention that there's a lot of different kind of ants here in North Texas. And so saying that you have an ant problem or seeing ants inside, that can mean a lot of different things. And so you have Carpenter ants and Acrobat ants that go inside the wall and they chew a lot of the wood that in the framing and they spit it out. And if you're looking and you see a lot of piles of sawdust by the trim or by baseboards, by doorways, things like that, then those are probably what you're dealing with, Carpenter ants or Acrobat ants. You have little black ants or Rover ants. A lot of times we call those sugar ants when I was growing up. But what can be hard about those is they're almost microscopic. And if you have granite countertops or marble countertops and that has a darker or a deep texture to it, it can be hard to see it. But you almost always know they're there because whenever you leave something in the sink, there's hundreds of them that just swarm it. You also have Odorous house ants and Argentine ants. And I'm grouping these together because a lot of times you'll see these 2 ants close by or they resemble each other a lot. And Odorous house ants and Argentine ants, they're almost impossible to tell the difference just by looking at them at face value. The easiest way to know which one you're dealing with is, yes, it's an average size black ant, but if you squish it with your finger and smell it, as funny as it sounds, if it smells like a rotten coconut, that's an Odorous house ant. If it doesn't, then it's an Argentine ant. And to believe it or not, to this day, I still have the hardest time identifying the 2, and the only way that I know how to do it is just by the smell test. So don't feel afraid if that's the way that you find out what it is. And here in North Texas, obviously, we have the infamous fire ants. And so with that in mind, these are just a few ants that we deal with on a regular basis. There's a lot more that we have seen in North Texas, some that are coming more and more prominent. The crazy ant, that is one that is coming up. Leaf cutter ants, harvester ants. There's a few other things that we have seen. And in my career, I have seen a couple of infestations of ghost ants. Ironically, they are native to Hawaii and Alaska, 2 polar opposite places. And but anyways, so these are some things that you can see. Now, each ant is going to be looking for one of 3 things: sugars, carbs, or proteins. And so if you're leaving something out, or if you see something out, or if you have kids that are playing, I understand that a lot of times it's hard to go back behind every single step of the way and to keep those things clean. And believe it or not, it doesn't matter how clean you keep things, ants will still find a way to come inside the house. My wife cleans religiously, and she watches these videos, and she cleans religiously, and we still have ants at our house. And that's obviously not a recurring problem, but we do get them from time to time. And I'm the bug guy. And so it is something that can happen to anybody, and it can happen at any time. It's not something that you bring something in and causes a problem. It's just bugs move. And ants are definitely one of those things that are constantly moving. They don't go to sleep. They're awake 24 hours a day, and they're constantly looking and searching for food. Incredible bugs, but you don't like them inside your house. So let's get to some information on how to get them controlled in and around the home. Now, in the other video, we did mention 2 things. There's baits and there's sprays. And so in this video, we want to talk about some of those things, some of the baits and some of the sprays that we use here at CitiTurf in our ant treatments, and some things that may be available to you for you to use as well. Now, I'm a huge advocate for baits because it's something that an ant can take back to the colony. It's not just a blanket application that kills what's there right now, but it's something that goes behind the wall. It goes into the colony, and it's something that everything takes part of. The biggest challenge with using baits is because it has to go to the whole colony. Ant colonies can be upwards in the millions. And so you have this time frame, like 2 weeks, you put out bait and you're still seeing these ants. But at some point you do start to see lower and lower amounts until eventually they're gone. And it can be frustrating if you're not prepared for that waiting period or prepared for the amount of time it takes to control all of them. But if you did just one application and it gets rid of everything, which most of the time products from the store, it kills exactly what's visible right now. But what you notice over time is they start to come back, maybe in a different room or maybe across the house. This is why it does take time to control ants. There's thousands and thousands and thousands of them, and you want to make sure that you're getting control over all of them. And baits just have that ability to affect the whole colony. It just takes time. And so if it's something that you're not wanting to wait for that product to take that long time, there is a faster product or a bait that works a little bit faster. It's one of my favorites. It's very cheap and very available anywhere. It's called Taro Ant Bait Stations. I would recommend this if you have a get-together at your house and you can't get a pest control company there quick enough, or if you can't get products fast enough. This is available anywhere. You can get Taro Ant Bait Stations nearly at any store. And if you set this in a place where people aren't going to be close by, so maybe behind and underneath something, maybe inside the cabinet, behind some pans or something like that, this is something that will draw them to it. It's very, very high in sugar, and it draws ants to it really, really quick. Now, it doesn't have a lot of long-term control. You usually see activity around this ant station for about 2 weeks, and then it stops. They don't come back to it. And then at about 4 weeks from the time you originally set it out, they start to come back again. And so it is a great product. It does a great job. But as far as long-term control, maybe not so much. But if you're in a pinch and if you really need ant control, Taro would probably be one of the better things to do. Now, if you've got the time and you're not having a get-together this weekend and you don't have family or friends coming over that are going to see ants, then I would recommend something along the lines of either Advion Ant Gel or Max Force Quantum. Now, all three of these products work just a little bit differently, but it is a bait, and it is something that they take with them back to the colony. Now, on multiple occasions with Advion Ant baits and with the Max Force, on several occasions, we have seen where we come up to a house and we're there to do an ant treatment. And, well, I guess before I say that, when our customers call us and they have an ant problem and they want us to come out there and take care of it, we ask them when we schedule to set out honey the night before and leave it until the technician gets there. The reason why is because we want to make sure our technician can identify what kind of ant it is and where they're coming from. And so if you take a piece of aluminum foil and put a drop of honey on there and set it out in the rooms that you see it, then leave that overnight, and by the time we get there the next day, then we're able to identify all of these problems. And so on multiple occasions, we've come out to do an ant treatment, and we see all of these ants trailing. Well, we start putting these bait out in strategic places, and before we leave, the ants have left the honey, and they're going to all of these baits that we put out. And it's a neat process to see how they leave something that's in your house already, and something that they've probably been going for already, something high in sugar, whether it's candy that's left out or remnants of food on the counter or maybe in the sink, whatever the case may be, they leave all of that and they go towards the bait. And it's just that confirmation that, hey, this is working, it's going to do a good job. But again, you do have to wait that process for all of those ants to come in contact with it. And it can take 2 weeks, sometimes more, depending on the size of the colony. But baits do a great job at controlling colonies. Going on to sprays, whenever it comes to treating for ants and you're using a spray, you want to be careful on what you do. I would say, as a rule of thumb, if it's outside the house and it hasn't made inside your home, I would feel comfortable with using a repellent. And 99% of the time, the things you get from the store or any brick and mortar store is going to be a repellent. And I'm not trying to blast anybody, but just that's what they are. You apply the product, it kills what's active right now, and it leaves a residual that anything crawling by senses or it smells, and it tries to get away from it as fast as possible. But if you have ants on your foundation, or if they're on the walls, or if they're inside in the kitchen or the bathroom or somewhere inside, then you would want to use a product that works as a non-repellent, meaning they don't know they're in it until they're dead. And so some of the products that we use for repellents outside the house, Suspend Polyzone is one of our products that we use. It is a little bit expensive, so you can look around for some other things. Really, a lot of the stuff that you get at the store, like Ortho Home Defense, is another good one that works as a repellent or a contact spray, and it does a great job at controlling ant mounds. Or if you just notice some trailing along the sidewalk and you don't want them getting to the house, it does keep them at bay. But if you have ants inside the house, some of the products that we've used before, like Phantom, is a really good one. It's actually a termiticide, but it does a great job at helping control ants as a non-repellent. So they don't know they're in it until they're dead. So you are going to still see ants moving, but they're spreading that product and that active ingredient to each ant as they go along. I will say, as my top favorite, two of these products, they're made by BASF, and it's a manufacturer. One of those is Alpine WSG, which is a wettable soluble granule. But Alpine is a great product. It works a lot like a virus. Once you apply it and an ant comes in contact with it, they spread that to however many ants they come in contact with. They in turn have that product on them now, and they spread it to however many ants they come in contact with. And it's a huge domino effect. We've noticed a tremendous results with using this product, and we've really been happy with it. Another product that you can look into is Termidor SC. Now, this product is labeled strictly for outside and strictly on the foundation. It has a very strict label on where you can and can't apply it, but it does a great job at controlling ants. So if you notice a lot of ants trailing on the foundation, or if you know that's how they're coming up into the house, is just one little bead up into the home, then that would be a recommendation as well. Now, the last thing I want to leave you with is how ants get inside the house. I've got a video, and we're going to play it over this. And there was a time when a customer had called us, and they had a problem with ants coming inside the house. And so I went inside, and I did the baits, and I did the sprays, or whatever happened there. I can't remember, but I do remember going outside, and I was looking for the ant trail. They had left out honey the night before, and I was looking for this, and I found some ants trailing along the foundation in the corner. And as I looked closer, they started to disappear. And so I kept watching and kept watching and kept watching, and all of a sudden I realized that you couldn't even see it while standing up. You had to actually get down and look up into the bottom side of this brick and where the mortar met, but there was a small crack there. I mean, just the smallest little crack, and that's how they were getting inside the house. Now, the first rule of thought in any kind of pest control treatment is to change things mechanically to fix the problem. So if you have something coming in, try to seal up the home to stop that from coming in. Whenever I saw this, like, my goodness, there's no way to seal up every single pinhole in the mortar around your house. I mean, can you imagine how many gaps and cracks are around a home? It'd be a full-time job, that alone, just to seal up entry points from ants being able to come in. But I hope this answered some of the questions that we have about ants coming in and around the home. If you have any other questions, feel free to let us know, and we'll see you in the next video.